And global affairs analyst Henry Ogoli and a medical doctor Femi Oyekon joins me to discuss this development from the UK. Good to have the both of you join us this hour. Now, let me start with you, Henry Ogoli. Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced this conditional plan to reopen parts of society in England yesterday. And a lot of people are quite confused in terms of clarity as to whether they can go out or they cannot go out. How are people responding to this in the UK?
I think you used that word there. You used the confused or confusion. Is fairly apt here because that is what it seemed to amount to. Of course, coming to work this morning, there was an improved or increased traffic, and if you listen to the opposition party leader, he considered the decision of the Prime Minister to have provided more questions than answers. So yeah, that confusion looms. It's not a clear-cut decision. He has not eased off lockdown. A whole lot of things will still be in place, like social distancing and the habit we have to comply with. The strict compliance is still there. I think it's more of a trial, and let us wait and see game. How it may, if it spikes up, then we'll go back. So it's not a decision or an outline that in itself that can be considered a conclusive. I'm sure on the medical side, my good friend there will be able to help what that means. But on the social scene, social front, I don't think it's going down very well with the society. Even Labour leaders are calling for a change or a review of that decision as soon as practically possible.
All right, let me get to Dr. Femi Oyekon to get a medical perspective. So basically, while he was speaking yesterday, the Prime Minister said, and I'm quoting him, "We're going to be driven by the science, the data, and public health." Now, the UK has over 233,000 confirmed cases and over 30,000 deaths. So what is the science saying about this? Is this the right time to reopen?
I think that the science have expressed a lot of reservations about the steps taken by the Prime Minister, but in all, there are consensus that there are fatigue, people are beginning to deteriorate at home, and there is this cry that there should be some leniency in some of the lockdowns, which I think for the government side, they had to push, they had to sit back a little bit. But on the science bit, the target of testing about 100,000 people per day is a benchmark the UK government is trying very hard to meet, so that in a way, in a couple of months, they would have known people that are possibly that have been infected, or people that have been exposed, and people that have started developing the immunity. But the difference here is the fact that one, the UK has a very competent health institutions that have demonstrated a lot of capabilities compared to other smaller economy in Europe. Secondly, is the fact that UK on its own have developed a test kit that is 99.9% accurate. So if you look at these indices, you also know about the MAP1 that was developed from Hong Kong, that if you use it to disinfect any surface, that surface will remain, coronavirus will die for 90 days. And by the time you mix all of these facts and then you use face masks, it's looking like there is a bit of light at the end of tunnel. So you can start talking about, if we put all this science together, we should be able to ease off on the lockdown and allow the economy to begin to look a little more robust.
All right. So again, let me come to you, Henry. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are sticking with the stay at home as their primary messaging. They say that, look, they were not consulted before this decision was taken by the Prime Minister. What is the implication of this?
Yeah, the implication, like you rightly said, well, it's not going to create any constitutional crisis. It's not going to get to the conflict level, because don't forget that Scotland and some of these other states have autonomy to decide for its own jurisdiction. Like the Scotland case you just mentioned, is that we were not carried along, and we are not going to risk our people because the circumstances, the health facilities that are available in some parts of United Kingdom is not even yet. It hasn't gone around. Most of these facilities, like the medical doctor my good friend there has mentioned, has not been tested, and they are not readily available. So it's a matter of, well, let us watch and see. Of course, there is pressure everywhere. People want to get back to work. People want to flow and save themselves of the monotony of indoors activities. But then, on a balance, life is more important. And if you find out that the people of Scotland, or like the Irish people, have not protested against that, so it is still as laudable as the decision to get back to work. People want to come back to work, but the socio-cultural implications and the medical impact, if there is to be a spike, is seriously considered and at the back of every decision that people that are taking counter decisions or have considered. And yes, that is where we are.
All right, so Dr. Femi,
Yes.
the Prime Minister said he wants to keep the reproductive rate of the virus to 1, which means that only one person will only pass the infection to just one other person. But when you look at the fact that he wants to reopen primary schools by June 1st, and then people who are coming in from France will not be quarantined, how would that impact on that drive to reduce the infection rates?
To be honest with you, parents have expressed strong reservations about is it going to be compulsory for children to go back to school, knowing fully well that there is this mixture of the Kawasaki syndrome disease that is now beginning to affect children. Children are coming with a different form of severe coronavirus symptoms that is tagged, that looks more like Kawasaki disease. So there's a petition going around now looking for signatures that is calling that the government should not enforce on parents that they have to mandatorily take their children to school, because parents want to take responsibility to see that the coronavirus is almost down to 0 before they can start releasing their children, because you don't know which other children have it, and you don't even know which child is going to come up with severe symptoms. So like you said, they said only North Island regarding travel, that only folks coming from North Island are not going to be quarantined. But from any other part of the world that you're coming to UK, you're going to be quarantined for at least 14 days to be sure that you have multi-tests, to be sure that you are symptoms free before you're allowed to go back to the general public. But on the core issue of parents are, I think this now boils down to individual parents. Are you confident enough to let your children go? Are you confident enough to say that, in heaven forbid, if the next child that dies is your child, are you going to be happy? So it still boils down to parents. Parents have shown strong reservations that they are not going to be comfortable letting their children go out if this thing is not totally resolved.
All right. Global Affairs Analyst Henry Ogoli and Medical Doctor Dr. Femi Oyekom, many thanks to the both of you for sharing your perspective with us on this.